Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world and watching us virtually. And good afternoon, good morning to our guests here and our panelists on the Imagine Africa Forum podcast, an initiative of the African Chamber of Digital Commerce. And we're here talking about the Imagine African Forum event coming up here on September 17th to the 24th. The ACOFDC is hosting a signature event, the African Chamber, the Emerging African Forum, on the 20th and the 22nd of September. So pencil those on your calendar. Again, welcome to this second episode of the Emerging African Forum podcast. And today we are having special guests with us today. We have Mr. Christian. He is the CEO of Tulana. We're going to get to hear from him about Tulana and some of the interesting things that they're bringing to the event here in Minneapolis. And also amongst us is Professor Kingsley Moa from Cameroon. And he's joining us today, and it's going to be a special guest at the Imagine African Forum. And also, we're going to get to hear about his book launch. Very exciting about that. I think the tech world and the blockchain world is really itchy, waiting for that book launch coming up here. So we're excited to have you, and also, as usual and as always, Dr. Chinedu Meke, joining us from Atlanta. I think. Is that correct, Dr. Chinedu? Are you from Atlanta, Georgia? Yes.
Correct.
Thank you. Good morning to you, and welcome again joining us today. Your knowledge, your wealth of knowledge is always welcome here at the EAF podcast. And also, we have the CEO and president of the African Chamber of Digital Commerce, Mr. Eric Kagame, also here with us, and as well as the head of communication, Mr. Kelvin Girardi, joining us from Nigeria. So it's quite an exciting Sunday morning here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where I'm based. I hope it is wherever you're based as well. And for you, our viewers, I hope that you guys are having a wonderful Sunday. So before we get started here, I just want to kind of let our audience understand what we're talking about here. If this is your first time listening to us or learning about the Imagine African Forum or even about the African Chamber of Digital Commerce, let me just give you a little bit of an idea. But to explore more, please visit our event website, the Imagine African Forum. Go to www.imagineafricanforum.com, and you'll get more detailed information about the event and how you can get connected. So it's basically 4 days left before we can get started with our signature event. Very exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. Absolutely. It's been many months working on this. Tirelessly, we have really kind of pulled along, and everybody that's joined this effort, I just want to appreciate you, the organizing team of the EAF. Have done tremendously well. Thank you for doing that, and keep doing that. I appreciate all of you. Um, the Imagine African Forum is the theme of the event this year is about illuminating Africa and the diaspora. And as a sub team, we are focusing on accelerating tech investment in Africa and also in the diaspora nation. Uh, like I said, it's a signature event of the African Chamber of Digital Commerce, and we are a nonprofit organization, and we're based here in Minnesota in the United States. We serve as a gateway to the community uh, that is in diaspora and also the continent of Africa. So the signature event is really something that we seek to use as a tool to be able to create a confluence of ideas, confluence of highlighting tech startups, investment, and the like. So we are very excited about it. We are all about solutions. We focus on seeking to create acceleration in tech investment in the Africa and the diaspora community, like you said. So we also seek to bring together during this event professionals, founders, investors, and even public sectors individuals, from Africa and also here in the diaspora, to showcase innovations, uh, celebrate accomplishments. As a matter of fact, it's quite a bit of that to celebrate it. And also, if possible, which we think it is, it's going to be seal deals, if you will, create partnerships and foster an ecosystem of private public partnerships. So that's our focus, that's our goal, and that's our dream for this event. And as the program moves along, I'm going to be giving you more information as to how the nature of this event is, and also how you can be a part of this. And if you're following us right now live or virtually, we will be putting on the chat feature of this platform, this Zoom platform, information about the EAF, the website, and different links and phone numbers and even emails that you can be able to reach us. So with that said, I'm going to come back and just have a conversation here with our guests. And we're going to start by knowing who they are. And today we have Christian Rumer from Culana. Welcome to the EAF podcast, Christian.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, if you can just take a minute and just introduce yourself, give a little bit background about yourself and also Culana in this case, that will be appreciated.
Sure. Thank you very much, Vitalis. Thank you again, everybody, for inviting us to be part of the forum next week as well. My name is Christian Rumer. I am the CEO and co-founder of Culana. We are a digitization platform for financial institutions. For my background, I'm a banker since 1989. Worked in various places as a risk manager, investment manager, portfolio manager for various banks. But for the last 20 years, worked a lot in developing countries and advised over 100 banks on SME lending, on risk management, on building business. What we realized is that at Culana is that there's a value that is delivered by financial institutions that is currently a little bit underestimated because of all the fintech trends, which is the relationships that banks have. And we build a digitalization platform that helps banks basically replicating themselves from inside as fintech organizations through our platform. And this is what we promote. We have a subsidiary in Kigali, in Rwanda. We have a team of 5 people in Kigali who are developing, and all our main customers are coming from Africa currently. And I'm looking forward to explain and to be part of the discussion here at the forum.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Very exciting background you have there. And we're gonna hear more about some of the the aspects of what you're bringing to the Emerging African Forum event here in Minneapolis in a short while. But let me move on to Professor Kelly from Cameroon. Welcome to the EAF podcast, sir. It's good to have you here this Sunday afternoon, your time. Just give us a brief introduction of yourself and maybe a snippet of what's come here at the EAF. You are muted, sir. You can unmute yourself.
So sorry about that. Good afternoon, Vitalis, and good afternoon to the entire crew. Thank you for having me this Sunday afternoon. Like you said, I'm Professor Kelly Moore Kingsley. I'm a finance engineer. And are you there? Are you getting me?
Sir, we can get you. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm a finance engineer. I started off my career in the non-for-profit sector, and then eventually moved into the public sector, public international. And then with the UN and a couple of other international organizations where I manage various portfolios. Today, I'm a university professor. I keep my research cap, but I'm also actively involved in operational finance development, resource mobilization, and everything that has to do with structuring finance operations and engineering for the state and for the government of Cameroon. I also work as a censor at the central bank, and I help to build the regional financial market for the Central Africa sub-region. So I can say I'm versatile. I'm an advisory board member for the Africa Chamber of Digital Commerce, and parallel to that, on the quantum blockchain technology with the chairman, Mr. Eric. So it's our space, and we try to do what we can to let the world know that, you know, we are trying to do our own thing to contribute to make the world a better place.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Kelly, for that. Yes, it is our space, and we're here together for one single cause. So glad to have you here, sir. And we'll get
my pleasure. I'm in need together with you guys, and we are in need to win it, like they say, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And a good morning again to Dr. Chinedu Nweke from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us again. Take a brief moment and just introduce yourself to our audience.
Yes, thank you, Vitalis, again for the invite. Always a pleasure to be part of this podcast and all the meetings that we've had. My name is Chinedu Nweke. I'm a physician, actually a practicing kidney doctor or nephrologist. I'm also a CEO and co-founder of Village Seed Ventures, which essentially is a club of investors out here in the US, actually all over the world, but majorly in the US. And just what we do essentially is to participate in this space. And just going back to what Dr. Kelly and Professor Kelly just said, he said, and I quote, "This is our space." Well, for us, it's not our space, but we need to participate, and that's where we're coming from. We realize that. As Africans in diaspora, the least we can do is participate in the development of Africa and its people. And also, obviously, as Eric would always say, this is not just about Africa, but also Friends of Africa. Anyone who has the same mission and vision. So yes, at Village Seed Ventures, we're a club of investors, and we primarily focus on investments in Africa. And our main goal really, it's not necessarily, it's bi-directional, where we are focusing on the investment in Africa, but primarily to promote engagement of other diasporans in these activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chinedu. As always, like you said, yes. This is a space that we all have to participate in. See, the beauty of this is that it's open to the safe space, if you will. Eric always calls it. It's a safe space for us as Africans and Africans in diaspora, but also for people like Christian that have interest and investment in Africa as part of their own bid to bring development to that continent as well. So this is for all of us. Thank you for that. And with that said, I'll go to my good friend, Mr. Calvin Jiraji, who is the head of communication here at the ACOFDC, but also, wears many other hats in his own life. So please take a minute, sir, and let us know who you are.
Yeah, thank you, Vitalis. And good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Iraji Kelvin Tiso. I have a background in electrical electronics engineer, but I'm into agri-technology. 4 years ago, I founded a non-profit called Agri-Tech and Social Innovation Hub, an innovative space where young people and entrepreneurs come together to co-work and grow with the goal of accelerating the application of technology in agriculture. Basically, what we do is to get young people into agriculture, get young people into technology, because we believe that agriculture and technology have the potential of lifting a lot of young people, particularly in Africa, across the poverty line. I'm an alumni of the Tony Elumelu Foundation and also Leap Africa, and I'm the head of communication for the African Chamber of Digital Commerce. Thank you.
As always, Kelvin, thank you so much for all that you do in helping to organize this event that's coming up. You're doing tremendously well, so thank you. I'm very grateful for your input, support. With that said, let's go to Mr. Eric Kagame, CEO and President of the Africa Chamber of Digital Commerce, and also the chairperson for the logistics committee for the Asian African Forum organizing team. Welcome to the EAF podcast, sir. You have a minute to tell us a little bit about yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Vitalis. And our guest today, Professor Kelly Kingsley, Moore Kingsley, and also MD, Chinedu Nweke, and also Kristen Roma. Thank you, and also Kelvin, the everly versatile, Kelvin Jiraji. And I think that this past 2 days we'll be competing who goes to sleep. Vitalis was in that conversation, and also one of our advisory board members, Prince Lekon. I think we're really giving you a good run for your money. But all the same, people that are watching out there, thank you for joining. My name is Eric Kagame. I'm a business administrator and also serve as the president and also the CEO of the Africa Chamber of Digital Commerce. And within the blockchain space as well, I focus on, my focus is solution architecturing, leveraging the blockchain technology. And it has been a wild couple of days, especially as the days kind of trickle, as days, go by, as we go, closer and closer to the D-Day. But it's nevertheless, it's quite exciting. Receiving a confirmation from the Minister of Women Affairs for Nigeria. That was an energizer booster, kind of an energizer type, news we got, last night. So it's pretty exciting to have her, confirm, and then while we're working on all this as well. Overall, ours, we continue to say we're in the business of other people's business. Ours is to see how, as we define Africa, we define Africa scientifically, which is, Africa is a cradle of civilization. We're welcoming of both natives and also allies, on the platform, collectively to leverage, all capacities, to accelerate, development in Africa and access to finance, and also leveraging the blockchain technology, AI, and a bunch of other emerging technology that we've been hearing about, and also leveraging the immense, talent and also the brilliance within the diaspora, and also the resources in Africa to collectively have it work for majority of its citizens. So I'm pretty excited, to be part of this journey with all of you, and I'm looking forward to the D-Day, which is both the 20th and also the 22nd. And thank you, and I nudge it back to Vitalis Tita. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eric Kagame, President CEO of the Chamber. Thank you for your tremendous work and being at the helm of bringing all of this together. Thank you, sir. I must commend you for your brilliancy. With that said, I'm gonna just kind of delve into our conversation here, and it's gonna be a little bit all over the place. And we'll be touching on some of the aspects of the Imagine African Forum event, and maybe more specifically as you respond to your area of expertise and in relationship to your company or business or what you're bringing to the table. With that said, I'm going to start with you, Christian. And I'm just going to ask you, since your company expand into Africa, and we're here talking about the Imagine African Forum, I would like to hear from you as we're trying to drum up a support and create a feeling and understanding of the need for these kinds of events. What, in your opinion, what have you seen in your experience working in Africa? How can you, or how do you assess the financial inclusivity as you find it in Africa? How do you assess people being included in the financial instruments that are available in Africa, and what do you think could be added or could be subtracted?
Thank you, Vitalis, for this question. I think that's extremely interesting, and this is an extremely important question on the access to finance. And I'd like to pick up on what Kelvin said before. For example, on the use of agriculture and technology. I think what is extremely important for the development of the continent is really to get into value addition into small companies that help you growing specific parts. I casually always say don't export peppers, export chili sauce, and try to make chili sauce, because that adds employment, and that adds that helps you developing the middle class across the continent. Whereby you talk about small companies, medium-sized companies that are not necessarily targeting the financial markets. They need banks, they need financial institutions, and here I think we have a disruption, because banks, financial institutions on the continent are not yet fully prepared to finance these small, medium-sized companies. They require a lot of collateral. They require a lot of traditional financing, not necessarily cash flow-based financing, because they are still, I would say, a little bit underdeveloped from their portfolio management, from their risk management perspective. And here is where we think we need to help. I am extremely happy that there are lots of international investors seeking investment opportunities. I also like to point out that not every SME, not every small company is really prepared for getting international financing. The majority of them still need domestic financing from banks. So we need to work with the banks or with the fintechs or with the companies that offer blockchains to make financing, local financing, better possible. Because if you are an entrepreneur, you're not just seeking for the small first-time financing, one trade finance, you seek for a relationship with a financial advisor, with a bank. And this is exactly where we think at Culana we need to work on, making sure that the local financial services get better with the support of international money, with the support of international investors, but also making sure that the domestic financial services get better, get more accessible, so that in the long run, you can really get the financing you need. Because similar to, look at the US or look at any developed country, these small companies don't get foreign financing, they get domestic financing. We need to work on make that more accessible. That requires international investments, it requires co-investments, that requires some innovation that we have to bring in, that requires the technology, as you said, the blockchain technology. But ultimately, the goal needs to be to really build this broad landscape of successful small companies that are creating employment, that are adding value to the overall domestic economies in each of these countries.
Thank you for that. That's very well placed. When you talk about financing, and I like the whole framework that you put this in, being able to say, hey, it's not only the international financing that is critical here, but some of these SMEs and startups might just need, some financing from the local bank. And if you go on the ground, you hear that the biggest challenge from these individuals or businesses is access to that finance. Yeah. You mentioned two things here: being able to position yourself as a business owner or as a business to be able to access the finance. And then also from the bank side, being able to create instruments that make it easy for these SMEs to access that finance. So what is Culana? If you don't spill the whole beans here, but give us a teaser if you can. What is maybe a product or something that Culana is working on that could really help mitigate some of those challenges? If
you take this together, from our perspective, it's not just a single product, because a loan is a loan. There's not much difference whether a loan is banking or lending has been around for a couple of 100 years. So there's little innovation in the loan product. I give you money, you promise to pay me back. That's the loan. Yeah. What is though essential is knowledge. The fact that you as a relationship manager, as a banker, have worked for 5, 10, 15 years with the same person and understand this entrepreneur better. So specifically take the pandemic. Everybody claimed to have problems because of the pandemic, but if you know your entrepreneurs better, you can better assess who of them really suffers from direct pandemic influence and who is just somebody who was lazy all the time and now also suffers but doesn't necessarily merit to be supported. So what we are working on Culana is really knowledge management. We're making sure that we are establishing the digitalization platform so that every interaction that you have with a client, every communication is captured and is assessed. So that, for example, if you go to your client, let's say who's a car importer in a country, and you have your tablet with you, you get all the questions that you should ask based on the experience that the bank has with other car importers. Maybe they know what working capital needs you have. Maybe they know what brands work better, or what types of loans work better for the end users, and can basically function as a financial advisor to the client. So this is what we try to establish with Culana by basically digitizing the entire lending workflow of a financial institution, from the first contact to the approval to the collection. Everything is on one platform and everything is accessible within the institution. So what you have, the traditional problem that, for example, if a loan officer and investment manager leaves an institution after 10 years, he takes all his knowledge with him to the next bank. Now we are making sure that all this knowledge is within the institution and can be used, so that you're not just offering loans, but you're actually providing financial advisory. And this is where you get different as a financial institution from a pure fintech company. A pure fintech company has tons of benefits. I'm not disputing them, but the pure fintech company has difficulties when it comes to building relationships, because on purpose, they are simplifying the relationships through digitalization, through scoring and so on. But if I come to you and say, look, I really cannot pay because my importer didn't deliver the material, a fintech has a problem handling that. A bank which knows all the environment, who has relationship managers that are working in the community for the last decades, they can handle that better and therefore offer better financial services ultimately. So in our philosophy as Culana, we see that banks and fintechs coexist, but banks need to get up to speed, need to digitize, and that's what our platform does. So as an example, just as the last example, our largest client, Bank of Kigali in Rwanda, they have digitized their entire lending process, and they can now have conversations about every loan at the same time. They can review other loans that other clients have received and compare them to the loans. They can review every client interaction, and by that really make better decisions. That's what we deliver.
Absolutely. That's really wonderful. And just as a follow-up, what part of this uses the blockchain technology?
So we are quite agnostic. So what we're trying to really make sure is that, and we also know that there are a lot of pitfalls in digitalization, and the biggest pitfall is the adoption by the staff. Yeah, you can have the best platform. If the staff is fearful about using the platform, they are not using it. So, for example, our implementation projects are usually 2-3 years long. Yeah, to make sure everybody adopts to that. Our goal is to, on day one, replicate whatever the bank does, just do it digital. Then on day two, by having an open structure, we can integrate any kind of product. We ourselves don't use the blockchain. Yeah? We don't need we have not yet seen the need for that. But if the bank or the fintech company has a product that is based on blockchain, we can easily integrate that. Make sure that, for example, the scoring that a fintech product needs, all the data is delivered. At the same time, we can all make sure that all the information that the fintech collects about the client is delivered back to the bank, so that really on top of that, there is a sea of information that makes at the end a better credit decision. And that in the end is for each of these financial institutions a competitive advantage. That's where we come together. So we try to be open, but we're trying to really lift this archaic dinosaur of a financial institution to be somebody who is ready to, I don't say compete, but to collaborate with what is technology, with what is fintech, and what brings in value here. So this is why I see the end game of fintech versus bank is not a decision of either or. The end game is a combination of both that brings together in the end better financial services to the end user, to the entrepreneurs. Because from my perspective, financial institutions need to be a utility, a utility to support the underlying business. As we've seen here in the US and other countries, at some stage, financial institutions became a mean for itself. See the financial crisis in 2007. That's not the purpose. They're a utility to provide the oil or the grease that the machine runs. And this is something that needs to be more efficient. That's where we're working on.
Absolutely. I think I'll let Professor Kelly chime in on that and from the blockchain perspective and finance. But before I get to Professor Kelly, I would like to, Dr. Chinedu has a question for you, Christian. And he says, could you shed more light on why you suggest local financing over international financing for SMEs?
It's an interesting question, and I have a first answer, then I have a top of an answer. Yeah. First of all, why I believe local financing has benefits, and for me, in financing in general, people overemphasize the phase of disbursement and assessment, and underemphasize the phase of collection and monitoring. And if I'm an international financial service provider, I finance a company in Africa, or in any country where I'm not based, I'm always at a disadvantage when it comes to collection. If there's a problem, if there's an issue, and I can tell you that if you provide 5-year financing to an SME, there's always a phase where there will be an issue. But I'm distant, I'm not there, I'm not able to help. A local financial institution has strong benefits by being present and by accepting. If a borrower comes to me today and says, look, next month I have problems paying my debt service because I had a big contract and it failed, or my wife got sick, me as an international financing service provider, I can't verify that. As a domestic person, as a bank, I can go, I can check that. So there's a strong benefit in local presence. Whether this bank now needs to get all its financing domestically or internationally, it's a complete different thing. And that is what we are working on right now as the next level. We are working on a fund that is co-lending along the line of banks. So if the bank provides, let's say, a $200,000 loan to an SME to grow, to expand the business, this fund will be able to co-finance at equal terms 100,000 of that. So that the bank does 200,000, we do 100,000, but the bank takes care of the relationship. So we provide the financing, the risk takeover for the financial institution, but let the front end, all the things that are important, manage the bank. So there's a combination of both. I do see a lot of role for international financing, and I also see a lot of roles for international financial markets for anything that has the potential to become a unicorn. And there are, of course, areas where you can invest in companies that make a lot of sense, but those are the tip of the iceberg. Those are the first 200, 300 companies that you think of, but a continent or the size of Africa needs more than 200-300 companies to finance. You have 10,000s of companies that need financing, and not all of them qualify for international support directly, but many of them could qualify for financing from the local bank with funding from international, with funding and risk takeover. Important part is funding and risk takeover from the international community.
Vitalis, I know before you run to Professor Kelly, my question is, how does let's say the likes of, Dr. Chinedu fit in with the village, seed, ventures, they're investors, I think they've done over, let's say, I think they've done over $5 million, let's say already. How can how is there a synergy there? How do they fit in? Is there? I know you do work with the legacy, banks and what have you. Where do they fit in? The ventures, the VCs, and other types of macro investors. How do they fit in within that ecosystem, that Kilana's ecosystem?
Thanks. Just to add to that, certainly, what we do is we're a club of accredited investors across the world, essentially of African diaspora. So and I think what Eric is trying to say is, this being a very sort of young organization, we're constantly looking at partnerships and ways to probably more efficiently channel these investors through to the right startups or the right tech companies, and to do it in such a way that it's seamless. So I think that's sort of like adding to the question that Eric was is also asking.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
just to emphasize again, sorry for that. I see a role for both. And both need to come together. It's just that neither one nor the other on its own will be successful.
So,
Thank you.
so just to clarify on that, so you see a synergy between these organizations like the ones of Dr. Nweke here, being able to find space within what you just talked about, what Kulana is leading across continents.
Correct, and I'm saying that really there's really a role for both. There's a role that there's the domestic presence, domestic relationships are important, and combining that in a smart way with international financing is what we're seeking for. If you have, of course, companies that are run by internationally educated people who are capable of handling also international investors, because not every small SME is capable of providing the reporting, providing the financing, then of course these selected companies make a lot of sense. And I see a lot of companies that are at a certain scale, can go bigger, where international financing is extremely helpful and can be extremely profitable as well, especially if it comes from investors who have a certain understanding. And as a company, you always need to make sure that your investors also understand where your money comes from and how you deal with these investors, and that these investors have a basic understanding for the work in the country. Yeah.
And this is pretty interesting. I know before we go to Professor Kelly, who happens to be a chairman as well, of a microfinance, like in Cameroon, right? I see the value of being on the ground, and they send data. Let's say the diaspora community that are fractionally want to invest their monies. Let's say are working in clubs, such as the BESV and what have you. Could utilize probably most likely, send data, right? On ground data they could tap into. But I know that one is a conversation that you businessmen will take care of, off the podcast. But I know Vitalis needs to go to Professor Kelly, and I'll go back to him.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. I think you're part of that business club, so don't exclude yourself. Thank you for that. And Professor Kelly, interesting conversation here. I just want to get your perspective on this. We're talking about financial inclusivity and then the product that Christian just talked about. I want to get your perspective on that before we actually delve into some of the highlights on your book launch coming up here. Go ahead, sir. If you can unmute, that would be great. Unmute, sir. Professor Kelly, you muted. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So thank you very much, Vitalis, and thanks most especially to Christian for that very brilliant presentation. A couple of things. First, it's quite impressive what you're already doing for Africa, and I want to agree with you that it will be important to focus more on local financing, because local financing has a limited number of risks. I just want to take a quick look here at the exchange rate factor. When you get financing in local currency and from local banks, at least you're sure that you're pulling in the people to participate in the development or the building process of whatever company it is that you're trying to set up. And the companies too, which are for most often startups, they have low risk management in terms of exchange rate, which may be a very complex and complicated procedure. However, we know that local financing may be very limited and very difficult to mobilize at times, especially when the projects are quite consistent. And that's where international financing comes in. But for international financing to also be very efficient, the local companies need to show proof of the fact that, they've been able to they have a track history of credibility and management of that kind of portfolio, which generally is not the case when you're starting up. So the support that Christian may be bringing in, I think what may be more important is the technical assistance and the technical know-how in terms of structuring some of these finance operations, managing them across the board and getting the proper hands on deck at the local level, because it's all about business. It's all about making money at a very cheap rate or at the lowest possible cost. For most companies, the challenge they have, especially for SMEs in getting financial support, is that they don't even have a track record. They don't have the financial statements for the number of years that are required, at least the minimum number of years. For those who have, some of them may find it challenging to build those financial statements to meet international standards as far as managing an SME is concerned. For them to have that kind of record where eventually they may need to go to IPO and benefit from some resource mobilization or international funding or in big market spaces. That is something that needs to be factored in. Today, technology is coming in, and you can't move parallel to the management of the SMEs cannot be parallel to the technological advancements that we are witnessing and that we are working on. So I think there is a lot in that domain that needs to be done, and Christian, you're highly welcome. Now it is for the different compartments of the economy, or different SMEs that fit into different compartments like agriculture, like medicine, like the service industries, just to name a few, financial services as well, to see how they can align or they can design projects that will respond to the facilities that Christian and his team may be willing to offer. But if I may add, I just want to take the Central Africa sub-region where I master a couple of things. In Cameroon, which is like the leading country in the Central African sub-region, we have 15 banks. Are you getting me?
Yes, we can get you, sir. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you, Professor.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
In Cameroon, we have 15 banks. 5 of these banks are in difficulties. It means there are banks that have bad debts, and the credit ratings are quite low, and the government is trying to see how, for social reasons, they can keep the banks afloat and try to rebuild and restructure them. So the banks are there. We have 5 other banks that are corporate banks. They do just corporate banking, no possibility for SMEs or other the small startups and private business owners to actually gain loan facilities and stuff from there. The next category of banks, which are the commercial banks that are active and functional, there are about 5 of them too, but these are purely commercial banks who they do day-to-day transactions. Investment banks are virtually absent in the country and in the sub-region. If you look at the level of banking, to the rate of bankalization, like they call it here, it's still about just 18%. That is the number of persons who are at an account owning age and who effectively have an account. It's just around that 18%. So you see that there is a vast area untapped, unexploited, especially for a sub-region that is purely public sector oriented, whereby they wait for government to come in whatever it is that it can bring in. And like our chairman, Eric, was saying, that is where I decided to come in with the microfinance, which is going to be like more of an investment bank, because that's where I'm driving at in the next 3 to 5 years. Because if we are able to capture the resources that are in the informal sector, it's going to be huge. There's no economy that can grow without the involvement of a financial institution. And if 75% of the region is not covered by financial institutions, then it makes it very challenging. So we are looking at a scenario where with Prima Finance and Investment, we're able to spread and cover all these areas where, we don't have financial services, so we're going to be able to finance a couple of projects with our partners locally and internationally. And we're going to see how we can, help to build and structure the companies, because it's not just about putting the money out there, but it's also the investment culture, the finance culture, the culture to build, to think that, you're not doing business just for subsistence, but you're doing business to create wealth. And in wealth creation, you impact your community and your environment. We talk about emergence in most countries in sub-Saharan Africa, but it might not only be top-bottom, it might also be bottom-up, in the sense that if these ideas that we have and that we're trying to push at the level of the Africa Chamber of Digital Commerce and with our partners, if some of these ideas were able to go through, the sum of the individual well-being may also be factored in to contribute to that rapid emergence that we're looking about. So knowledge management is very important as we move towards digitalization. It's important to focus on local financing, like our friend was saying, but in so doing, we shouldn't forget the fact that when financing comes, especially international financing, it comes with accountability, it comes with transparency, it comes with innovation, it comes with technology that is much needed in our continent moving forward. So for me, those are the key. That's the lead I could drop in.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Professor Kelly. And just a quick follow-up on that. You mentioned about something that I find interesting, that it can also impact the economy from the bottom up. The traditional means has been the bottom down, which is a trickle-down effect, and obviously we can all agree that, especially speaking of the Africa and the continent of Africa, that has not really yielded much for us. You talked about knowledge, yes, which is also a key component in this whole combination of ingredients to be able to realize the kind of financial results we want for the continent and also for these individual businesses. I see it as a lack of financial literacy, right? So we're busy building these instruments and different products to be accessed by these SME startups. But again, we also see a lack of their readiness. I think a couple of us have mentioned here about, they're not organized well. They're not positioned to be able to access those or qualify for those financial resources provided by the bank. And you running a microfinance, what are you doing, or what is part of your strategy to be able to, educate these SMEs and small businesses so that they are better organized and stand a better chance of being able to, to access funds? Okay.
Yeah. I think it's education is a key component, and that's why I was saying that essentially we are in a public sector oriented kind of economy where people are not trained. We generally are not trained to think critically or to think outside the box. And for you to be successful in business, you need to develop your sense of critical thinking. So the general impression is always that, people are trained to survive and not to create. Because if you depend on the public sector for most of your operations and your survival, it kind of like slows down your brain. But today, with the population, the increase in the young population and the high demand for employment, the population is taking the responsibility to its hands. And thank God for the internet, where in the comfort of your bedroom, you can connect with partners and across the world, across the globe, and you can do a lot of things just by being in your bedroom with a good computer and a good internet connectivity. The governments of the sub-region are they are willing. That's the good thing. At the policy level, there is a lot of, you see a lot of laws are being enacted, a lot of regulations as far as managing certain components of businesses are concerned. But it is about the people taking responsibility for the transformation and for the emergence both at the personal level, then at the national level. And that's why I was saying that if we were waiting for the trickle-down effect, like you said, has not really been very efficient, because that is what was taught in the economics of the yesteryears. Our systems have eventually failed. Today, it is more about the young, dynamic population that is questing for wealth, that wants innovation, that is using technology, that is trying to connect with their peers around the world, that's trying to see mobilized financial resources wherever it is that they think are idle. And even those across the world that have resources that are on low or negative interest rates, they're trying to see where interest rates are quite positive, and that can yield good returns. That's why today we have the impression that people are more interested in Africa. They're interested in Africa because the interest rates in Europe and America are quite low. For some countries, even it's negative. So if you could bring it this way, you're sure that you can make some money out of it, and it's a win-win kind of situation. But that win-win can only be efficient if we are better organized, if we try to get our informal education right, because changing the formal educational system automatically may be a little challenging. Today, we have more and more private universities that crop up every day, and they are teaching more updated sciences that can really help build the SMEs and the private sector.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that response. You are listening and watching the EAF, the Imagine African Forum podcast, and we are having an interesting conversation about around finance as part of what we are going to be featuring at the Imagine African Forum event. This is just a teaser, and you can say there's a wealth of information here, and you can see the caliber of people that we bring on board. These seasoned business people, these experts, and also these very high officials that have the capacity and also have the technical ability to be able to bring information that is reliable and you can trust. So with that said, and from what you were just talking about, getting SMEs and startups ready for investment or ready for access to financial instruments, the EAF is going to be showcasing startups. And we have done our due diligence over the past couple of months to select some startups that are investment ready, and we're going to be showcasing these at the EAF. And if I can just tease you a little bit, some of those are the LO app, Rohobot Nothing, Chatbot Ghana, BPD Money, Bezo Money, and Mobile Care. So I'll just leave it at that. But we have the 6 startups that we have been able to curate, and also have done some of the things that we've discussed here in trying to make sure that they organize well. And this will be the models, if you will, of startups, so that others can learn from it. So if you're a startup out there listening or watching this podcast, or if you're thinking of starting one, I think this is a reason for you to tune in at the Imagine African Forum event and be able to be a part of the process. If you're wondering who is going to be at this event, we are going to welcome a global delegation of very influential voices in business and finance and economic policy in Africa. You've seen a sample of that here today, and also in the diaspora as well. So these people are the leaders of the efforts to prepare a new blueprint for the next stage of international growth. And of course, we're hoping Africa is going to lead the charge on that. So, and also, we're making it a point that anyone should attend or tune in into this event. So we're inviting anyone and everyone, but especially we're focusing on encouraging Africans on the continent and also in the diaspora to attend this event. So please come out and learn about key avenues on how you can expand your ideas and also, again, starting your business in the area of technology. So with that said, I would like to just go back to Dr. Nweke, if you will. So you've been with us here a couple of weeks, You've been a strong supporter of what we're doing here. It's played a very instrumental role bringing things together as far as the EAF is concerned. And I just want you to just support me in that little blurb I put out there, and say to our audience and to the public, what do you have to say about the EAF as it stands right now? What should people expect, and what would be your own personal statement in recommending this event to the general public?
Yeah, certainly. Again, we're all excited about this. This is an opportunity for us as Africans, as diasporans, to start to get to contribute, to participate, to get the word out there. Obviously, the hopefully many others different platforms. But as also an advisor to the chambers, and it's been a pleasure really to always connect with like minds and people who are across the world who are trying to make a difference, which is really at the core of what we do, is trying to make a difference. It's we cannot just continue on social media, complain. We gotta look at ways to team up, work together, to be able to make these differences one day at a time. And so yes, I hope that we will get the word out. I know that it's not going to happen. It's a work in progress. This is the first edition, and we hope that as this continues, we will continue to gather the momentum to make it such an event that will stand the test of time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chinedu, for those kind words, nudging people to attend the event. And it is our plea. This is going to be a wonderful opportunity to get informed about the exciting things that are happening on the continent and also in the diaspora. You will have the opportunity to network with resourceful dignitaries from the continent, opportunity to interact even one-on-one with these officials. Also, we're going to be having investors that will be part of this event. So it's opportunity to invest, also opportunity to attract investment, form partnerships, and also develop valuable connections through networking with experts, investors, and captains of the industry. So this is wonderful. But do you know that fintech startups raised 24.9% of the total African VC funding? E-commerce, health tech, logistics, and energy startups followed respectively. So I mean, there's so much out there that's happening, and you have to be in the know. And this is an environment for us to be in the know. And we know that they say knowledge is power, right? But knowledge that is truthful is even more powerful. So this is where you get authentic information, and we do our due diligence as an African Chamber of Digital Commerce through this signature event, the Emerging African Forum, to be able to bring you information that's valuable and is impactful in a very strategic way. With that said, I'm going to come back to Professor Kingsley, and let's talk about this book that is scratching. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Calvin. You have something to say?
Yeah, sorry, I have a question for both Prof and Rumer. I haven't been worked with farmers at the informal sector. I realize that some of the major challenges around financial inclusion is data. Data has been very, very critical. Yes, if you go to remote areas, especially around farming communities, you realize that like over 20 persons, though having separate biometrics, they are making use of one phone number. So if you want to deploy solutions like Kulana, how do you navigate around such scenarios?
Yeah, can I?
Please go ahead, Christian.
Yes.
Yeah, I think if I may, I understand very well the absence, the problem of data absence in the agro industry, not only in the agro industry, but in general. We've not been used to prioritizing data, and data analysis is key for policy, for policy decisions or for policy making. Now, without entering into the specifics of what Christian may want as far as data is concerned, with respect to their decision making, I think patterns are what can be used, because in most of the agro community where we are coming from, because if you see very well, the problem that we have with agriculture in Africa is that for years it has been about subsistence agriculture. Now we want to take the subsistence agriculture to become an important factor in the contribution of GDP. So taking it now to the second category, agricultural production, and eventually to transformation. All of that needs some kind of mechanized farming. And for the farming to be mechanized, it needs to be powered up by all of this data that needs to be collected for a period of time. It's a lot of work that needs to be done. But we all know that in our traditional communities, our parents or our forefathers, or they follow patterns. They know that there will be a rainy season followed by a dry season, or a small dry season that will follow by a mega rainy season, and you can take it from there. So I think patterns is what can be used now. Secondary data, that is data that has been collected by most of these international organizations, because so far they are the ones that have been trying to formalize the sector. And while waiting increasingly to see how government will progress with its scientific data collection centers, where they can produce informed data for real policy analysis. But I think I'll leave it up to Christian.
Yeah, let me just first address and thank you for that. And I think that's very valuable also to talk about the collection of data and to correct a history of data, that you can derive patterns from that. And obviously, to a certain degree, you can always rely on patterns from other regions as well, but it's really important to have proprietary patterns for the specific region. That's one part. On the agriculture space, very specifically, I think the second area where inefficiencies happen and where on a larger scale improvements can be made is really making sure that the value chains function well, that the farmers who are on the ground don't have to deal with 7, 8, 9 middlemen before the products get out to the market, but really finding ways that through centralization of ordering, centralization of getting fertilizer, centralization of distribution, you might be able to ship more of the profits towards the smallholder farmers. On the other hand, one of the things that I think in financial education is extremely important. I completely share what Dr. Kingsley said here on making sure that there is good education here. Education will take time until these people know how to build financial statements. And for me, as a lender, as a banker by training, I also know that yes, it would be perfect to have a nice financial statement, ideally audited, but they don't exist so easily. So we have to see if there are intermediary steps. For most of the companies, 2-3 factors of data already are sufficient. If I have a tourist operator and I have his reservation system and I know where his orders come from, that already helps me. If I have a trader and I have information about his inventory, that already helps me. So we need to find small tools, small apps that could actually be produced or developed locally that help us capturing parts of the information already that is useful. If I know that there is a trader of electronics who has this amount of inventory, this amount of turnover, that already helps me in the credit decision. Of course, a financial statement would be perfect, but small data is already helpful. So we need to find really small steps and see how we can do one after the other to get better in these data assessments, and then in the ability to use the data for investment decisions. Yeah? I hope this was get in the direction of answering your concern, but it's of course not something that happens from today to tomorrow, but in steps.
Great, thank you so much. Kevin, did that answer your question? Do you have any follow-up questions?
Absolutely no. For now, that's so. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Just a little plug in here. There's sponsorship opportunities that are still open at the EAF corporate sponsorship. So please, if you're a corporate business owner, get your brand in front of the right audience. Startup founders, corporate partners, and community leaders will be at this event, and coming from international locations and also within the country here. So great opportunity to get your brand in front of these people and create some avenues for growth and scalability. And also, I want to just mention that we are also promoting our African startup rooms, and this is a place where you don't necessarily have to be here to showcase what you have or your business or your startup, but you can work with us, and we'll be able to do some exposure for you. And to speak more about that, I'm going to nudge Eric Kagame to talk about African startup room.
Thank you, Vitalis, and what an amazing, guest we have today, Kristen and Kingsley and Dr. Chinedu. Absolutely, and I see a lot of, as you continue to speak, and I see a lot of synergy. If you look at all of you in the Sen, the ecosystem itself, there's the complementary synergies there that could be explored, beyond the conversation today. As we said, the EAF itself, is going to be focusing on solutioning. We're going to see what can we work with, to recraft, that suits our people, on the continent, even in the communities we're part of here, the immigrant, community that we're part of here. What can we recraft, to work for, especially people that are in the rural areas, like in Africa and the diaspora nations and what have you. So those are the areas that's where, critically, the chamber is looking to work with the likes of, Kingsley, Professor Kingsley and Dr. Chinedu and others, and also Kristen Rumer with Kilana, and to examine what they have and also see how we can recraft or leverage in some ways, what they're doing. And there's always, we're also, the CSR strategy is always here. You have to, if you go into Africa, we're also reminding people, you also have to think of your CSR strategy. And if you don't have a huge budget for it, that's where the chamber comes in pretty handy. Because there are a lot of initiatives, especially, let's say, the 3.5 million, we're trying to train and certify in Africa on low-code technology, for instance, or low-code or no-code technology in Africa. And so there are tons of things that they can take advantage of here. But here is absolutely going to be on solutioning and taking advantage of, the access we have to send institutions, and also, and very valuably, very valuable, as a matter of fact, is the access to send institutions with resource, where we could, for instance, the presence of, the USAID with the Prosper Africa, they're going to be on the ground, and there's going to be also engagement. We're going to be providing with the representative of the USAID, Prosper Africa initiative team that's going to be on the ground, to help us both, educate people on what Prosper Africa initiative is, which is funded by the U.S. government and is also part of the DFC, which has about $60 billion in its coffers to help developing nations, like a continent like Africa will benefit significantly from it. And we realize the diaspora community would play an important role in access to such resource, and that's where we have the likes of Dr. King's, Professor Kingsley down on the ground. We're able to work in a very collaborative way to both access and also deploy those resources to projects that will really change significantly lives on the continent. So we'll continue. It's not just another one of those events that you're going to have people have a lot of fancy things to say, but we are going to focus, as I've said already, on solutioning. For instance, I'll give you an example. The event, the week itself is powered by Better.mn. It's an organization that has facilitated for entrepreneurs, startup entrepreneurs. The last time I checked, it was 100 plus. They've raised over $600 million already plus. And Minnesota, as we speak, the last time I checked, in 2019 and 2020, the startup entrepreneurs have raised over $3 billion already, and we are on track. We're on track to even do more. Even I think about a week or 2 weeks ago, I think the startup, fintech startups that I've had a bit of interaction with their founders, have raised combined of 80-something million already. So a lot of things are happening. We're the ones that will give that kind of access. And that's.
Thank you so much, Eric. Appreciate that. So if you guys can see, we are very strategically positioned here as a chamber to do a lot of the work that needs to be done on the continent and also here in the diaspora. With that said, I just want to go to Professor Kelly and let's have a little bit of a preview about your book coming up here, the book launch, which is going to be part of our private session or private event here at the Emerging African Forum. And I just want you to give us a little overview, if you will, about the book and just kind of a little bit of a teaser for our audience to anticipate. I know you put a lot of thought, a lot of work to this, and it will be great. And before you say that, I just want to introduce the book. It's called Disruptive Technologies, Blockchain, the Crystal Ball by Professor Kelly Moore-Kingston. And the professor himself is here, sir. You can give us a little bit of overview and what we should be expecting that is buried in this book. Some keys to unlock the doors,
Vitalis, thank you very much. And I want to use this opportunity to specially thank the whole team, the invitees, and all those who thought that this could be a platform where the book could be presented. If you look at the book, you'll see that it's not just my work alone. It's a combination of efforts from Eric, from Jason, from China Lee, or one of our other colleagues, and a host of other persons. Yeah. At the time when I was researching on the book, there was very little literature on what cryptocurrency and blockchain and all these new concepts that we are becoming quite familiar with was all about. So my idea was to find a way of putting together everything that has to do with the blockchain, with digital finance as a whole, in a document that can serve as a reference document. And that's why we came up with the disruptive technologies. Disruptive technology, why disruptive technology? Because from when money was created, when we used to have commodities as money, to today where money has become virtual, it has always been a continuous evolution. It's like an unending journey. And the question I want to ask myself is, 50 years from now, what are we going to be talking about in terms of medium of exchange? Is it still going to be digital finance? Is it still going to be virtual? Or are we just going to be in a world where, you just imagine what you want and somehow it appears with a pound of flesh in exchange or whatever it is? You can't really tell. So the book is trying to give that historical evolution and how people have often been very resistant when it comes to change, especially technological change, and most especially in the finance world, because nobody wants to sleep. And we have an adage here that money does not love noise. So if your money is somewhere and you constantly hear some unfamiliar sounds coming out of that area, you want to quickly take your money out of that area and put it in a place where it's more secure, it's more safe. And so today, we are increasingly accepting the fact that digital finance, DeFi, is the solution. We are accepting the fact that our banking systems have kind of failed us because of the time that it takes to carry out transactions, the regulations that are around moving funds from one part of the country to the other, or one part of the continent to the other. Today we have technological platforms, which is the blockchain technology platform, which is simply just a ledger, with a series of other computers and other connections to secure our transactions in real time. So imagine all the time that you can benefit or you can gain from not using the paper, the regulations, the traffic, everything that has to do with the way business is being done today. Now, governments are very, very resistant to this new technological evolution because, as you may have noticed, people have lost tons of billions of dollars in trading recently, just like how some have also made so much money on the other side. Now, how do you regulate this in a way that it doesn't crumble economies? How do we give the management of money to people that we really don't know? They are in some parts of the world, and they are the ones managing the resources of an individual, of a person, or whatever. It's all about risk. So regulation is key. Regulation is important at the government level, at the national levels, at the regional levels, and even at the private level. So the disruptive technologies, because this is new, this is a new phenomenon, is coming with artificial intelligence, it's coming with technological advancements, is coming with a whole lot of things that we are not familiar with. The resistance is there. It's not new. From when money was a commodity, to when it became paper, to when it became coins, to when it became what we have today, there's always been some kind of resistance. But this resistance have been transcended because the advantages have always outweighed the disadvantages. And today, we see that with this digital currencies or digital financing, we need to also be prepared. We need to also be on the alert. We need to also know that it has come to stay, and we should better get ready than to say we are sorry. So that is basically the overview of the book, trying to educate, trying to let us know that we have something that has come to stay. This thing that has come to stay is going to help us in our journey to emerge Africa, to emerge the world, to make our individual lives and the continent a better place. It's going to help our communities to prepare better for eventually what will be coming up tomorrow. I think that is it. So there is nobody that is left out, be it from financial experts to America. Anybody who is interested in money has to get a copy of the book.
Thank you.
And everybody is interested in money.
Yeah,
everybody in the world.
Vitalis, if you can oblige me too. And I think this book is going to be a must-have for both for public servants and also people, the overseers. We're talking about the C-suite, type, individual within, within corporate, whatever setting that is, whatever geography or whatever location they're at. And I think now we've seen the evolution. I think when Professor Kelly started working on that book, there was a huge resistance. And now, as we speak, we're talking about e-Naira, we're talking about Kwacha, we're talking about all kinds of, virtual or central bank digital currencies that are going to be powered by the blockchain technology. So the evolution has people have evolved with the space, both people that are the central bankers and also the general public have evolved with the space significantly. So my question is to Kelana. We're talking about central bank digital currencies. Professor Kelly, do you want to touch on that? How do you see what you do from a central banking standpoint? And also, as wearing your other hat as someone in the private sector as well, how do you intend to leverage that technology as well, especially in macro finance? And Kelana, how do you take advantage of the central bank digital currency that a lot of countries are already piloting? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. From the central bank perspective, at first, the governor of the central bank didn't even want to talk about it because they thought it was some kind of an illusion that would not meet us so soon. Unfortunately, the volume of transactions are increasing by the day, and at more and more in more international finance conventions, the topic is coming up. So they're beginning to incorporate that into their systems, and a few countries that have accepted the use of digital currency are beginning to serve now as reference point or benchmarks that other countries were hoping to use to see how we can build a stronger regulation from our side. However, different types of Bitcoins exist out there. Different types of digital currency, rather. Bitcoin is just one of them. And transactions are going on by the day using these different types of digital currency. At the level of the microfinance, I'm talking now like the president of Prima Digital Finance and Investment. We are hoping to use the Prima Microfinance as a bridge between the diaspora and the persons on the continent. That is, if with our digital accounts that we have over there, you want to do transactions back home, you have projects that you want to realize back home, you don't necessarily need to send cash. You deposit in our accounts there, and then we pay out the cash here. It's going to be in real time. It's going to cut a lot of cost instead of what we know is happening today. We can help to manage some of those projects for you. And in addition to that, we're going to have a project management department that can actually help to realize some of the projects for colleagues or friends or brothers or family members that are in the diaspora. So it could save like that bank of the diaspora where they can eventually do their transactions without any problem. Since it's digital, it's accessible from any part of the world. It's just going to function like other banks that we know. And we're going to have our applications that you can easily use to navigate, move around, check how your transactions are going, and a couple of other stuff. So we're going to also be showcasing this, our Prima Microfinance, which is a startup, but which is quite engraved already in the minds of people around, waiting for the rollout officially, even though we're functioning already a little informally. Yeah. So basically, that's how I look at it. Now, all the students here, the students I teach in the universities here and around the world, for me, poverty is no longer something they should complain about. If you have access to the internet, you have a computer, you have data, you should be able to start thinking in that light on how to raise money by trading, for example, or by simply doing placing some kind of online transactions and you're making money. So far, you see that it's also contributing in the fight against unemployment and illiteracy, because illiteracy is one of the main things that has kept Africa where it is today. And this illiteracy is usually because people complain for lack of funds, for want of funds, And today, if as a student, you are already able, through the digital platforms, you place your lending and you do your market analysis, you see how you can make some money out of it. Why not use it as a means of livelihood eventually, to see how you can build and create jobs even for you and your peers.
That's pretty. Christian, you got something to say about that?
Just very briefly. So number one, from the perspective of Culana as a platform, we are pretty agnostic what currency we're dealing with. I'm very open to have any currency. From the perspective of financing, and I subscribe to everything that Kelly has just said about the digital transferability of currency and the ability to handle currency, and the necessity to have central banks also engaged into that. From a personal perspective, I'm an extremely conservative person when it comes to currencies. Currencies for me need to be boring. Yeah? And if I see the talks about Bitcoin where a simple tweet of Elon Musk can influence the price of that currency. That is not helpful for my day-to-day business as managing a business, my own little SME. I need to have a currency that's stable, that's reliable, that allows my staff also to know if I pay them a certain amount of money, that's the amount of products they can produce, they can feed their families and so on. They can get their healthcare system, which is based on domestic currency and so on and so forth. So if there is a digital currency that provides that stability, plus all the flexibility of transferability and fast transferability, an easy way to handle, that's the ideal. That this can be blockchain based is probably is very likely, and is something that is positive. But if it's just that's for me just as a little bit of a taste, that when I hear cryptocurrency, when I hear that it's mainly used for speculation, that's not for me, from my perspective, the purpose of the currency. The purpose of the currency is to allow you relatively easily to value the products that you produce and to facilitate the transfer. If that's possible with digital currency that is supervised or monitored by a central bank, that's where we need to be. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, that's great. Well taken. That's a valid point. The volatility of the cryptos it's definitely a concern for so many people. But the concept in itself is good. But how do we keep it? How do we keep it stable? Is then becomes that
Correct.
very tricky area. If Professor Kelly is still listening to us, I don't know if his book address some of those concerns. He can say that, or we can just wait and buy the book, read it, and get more knowledge that way. But either way, thank you, Christian and Professor Kelly. We're looking forward to your book launch. Are you there, sir? You want to say anything? I can see you, sir. Professor Kelly? Yeah, you're muted, sir.
So, like Christian said, the feeling you have, Christian, is the general feeling that everybody has. People are very, very, very skeptical. People are generally conservative because they don't know what the future holds. And then it sounds, this digital finance sounds a lot like speculation. And people are more comfortable when you know that you can move into a bank and eventually, have a one-on-one transaction with somebody you see physically and you can do your business with. Psychologically, it's as if that person in front of you could be accountable in case there's a problem. But that notwithstanding, we've been doing transactions already with our credit cards, our debit cards, our online transactions. We've been taking the risk, buying tickets and lots of other things. The culture is not well entrenched with us here because we still have huge problems in terms of connectivity. For example, you may want to do a transaction and the network is not the best. You cannot easily connect to your bank and all of that. So precautionally, you always move with some cash. But the culture of cash has virtually disappeared in some parts of the world. So today, if we really want to move fast, if we really want to be at the same pace with our lenders, with our funders, with our donors, we need to dematerialize. And this dematerialization in the finance space can only be by accepting the crystal ball that is in front of us. We'll figure it out together, but in figuring it out, we'll be making progress in the right direction. So I think that's just what I have to add. Thank you.
Well said. Absolutely. Well said. Let's figure it out together. It's a Milky Way, but the future holds a lot of answers. And we cannot just sit back and say, hey, it's a difficult or uncertain environment. We have to take what we normally call the leap of faith, right? Knowing that things are going to work out. So with that said, I'm going to just go around and see if we have some last words. Before I do that, I just want to acknowledge the presence of Madam Aisha Abbas. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today, ma'am. I know you're joining us from either Abuja, Lagos, Nigeria. So a very good afternoon or evening here.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Again, this is the EAF podcast focusing on the Emerging African Forum event coming up here on the 20th and 22nd for our event, but the whole startup week on which platform we are hosting our event is runs from the 17th to the 24th of September. So go to the MedianAfricanForum.com and be able to connect, sign up, register for the event, and get more information on how to connect and resources and different things that we have loaded in that website. So please do well to go and check it out. With that said, I'm just gonna have last comments as we wrap up here, and I'll start with you, Dr. Chinedu. What are your last comments as we wrap up this segment for today? Thank you.
Yes, I mean, interesting conversations. Pros and cons of cryptocurrency and the new digital divide. I agree with both Christian and Kelly. It's exciting. There's definitely a movement towards digitalization of currencies across the world and just the ease of transactions. Obviously, also to Christian's point, it's got to be done in such a way that people and businesses and incomes or the value can be saved, without putting them at risk. Certainly, I think that's what also gives us at this point in time in history, especially in Africa, an opportunity to participate, because these types of technologies hopefully have a much less barrier to entry for just literally everyone. And as Dr. Kelly said, Professor Kelly said, we shouldn't shy away from it, but rather embrace it and figure out how to solve the problems that they pose. Currencies as they exist today, also have issues. I mean, I think I've seen an article where it costs more to print more naira than the actual value of the naira itself. I mean, those kinds of things, are mind-boggling. But again, it's a digital world. We should embrace it, and we develop it, make it more accessible. And finally, I'm very excited about this upcoming event. Again, let's get the word out. Let's get each and every one of us to participate. It's not about how many startups are we going to fund right now. I think that the from my point of view, what we should be looking at today is participation. Let's wake up the youth. Let's wake up Africa. Let's all come on board. You don't have to spend a dime. Just participate, get involved, see what's going on, and we'll take it one day at a time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chinedu. Appreciate your contribution and participation today, sir. Let me go to Christian. Any last comment?
Yeah, thank you very much. And again, I'm extremely excited to be part of the event. You might have seen in some of my comments that I'm a risk manager by training, so sometimes I've come across as a little bit of a person who just thinks the second thought as well. But I'm very much aligned with everything that you've said about the use of the need for digital currency, the need for efficiency wherever possible, the need for getting better and removing those obstacles, those bureaucracies, those obstacles that are useless or that don't add any value in the whole business activities. And if we can use that in a similar way like we have used across the African continent, the jump from no phone to smartphones or to cell phones without using landlines, the same way if we can have a similar jump in the currency to go from paper to a good digital currency, I think those are opportunities that we have that we should all take advantage of. And I look forward to the discussion here, and I look forward to building further. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of interesting parties. I also am curious about the Prosper Africa project, for which I heard a lot from USAID. And I think there's a lot of initiatives that can work together. And if they work together, if they are aligned, then I have no doubt that this will be the next decade for the continent.
Hallelujah. Thank you so much. Well said, sir. Well put. And I just want to note that, it's the business of the chamber. We are very invested in policy re-engineering. Again, trying to see how we can weed and get rid of some of these policies that are barriers to our own progress. So thank you. Hopefully, this is the beginning of a good relationship with Kulana and joining forces and being able to handle these problems together on the continent, also here in the diaspora. So thank you so much for being with us here today, Christian. I really appreciate that. With that said, I go to Professor Kelly. Any last thoughts, sir, as we look forward to receiving you here in Minnesota?
Yeah. I just pray that the efforts of the years to have the Africa Chamber of Digital Commerce set up and organizing this, our signature event, should be crowned with success. Success not just because we're a group of individuals that have come and we have set up something, but success because it matters moving forward. I just pray and hope that things get eased up so that our agenda can really move with speed as we try to align with other development partners on the continent to try and make Africa the place for the next decade. And I'm very happy, most especially because, like Dr. Chinedu was saying, the Africans in the diaspora have been seen more on social media as critics. But this is a unique opportunity to show that we want to build bridges and we want to see how the diaspora can actually impact the continent. A few years ago, I was a diaspora, but now I'm on the ground, so I'm part of you guys. So I can actually give you a real life experience and challenges on the ground. It's not all bad. For me, because it even looks challenging, it means there are more opportunities. You know, like they say in business, the higher the risk, the higher the profit. That's actually what is happening here. So I really, really hope that it's going to be a massive success and it will help us to have our footprints on the ground. Thank you. And thanks to the whole team that has been working tirelessly. The Secretariat is virtual 24/7. It's massive, it's huge. It's not something that you can easily just handle like that. So a big kudos to the team and to our president, Mr. Kagame Eric, for the excellent leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kelly.
Thank you, Prof. That's wonderful. Again, we're looking forward to having you here. And yes, we are in the business of other people's business. The stakes are high here. We understand that, and we're in it to win it. So we're going to work together. Again, we are going to change that narrative. It's part of the underlying agenda here, to change the narrative of who we are as Africans and what the potential that Africa holds. You know, it's no longer a myth. It's going to become a reality, and that's what we're working to collectively and in a very synergized manner, as you can see represented here in this program. With that said, I'm going to have Madam Abbas, if you can. I know you're going to be a participant in the Women in Tech session coming up here at the event. I don't know if you are in a position to say a few things as to what the audience should be expecting during that session here.
Not exactly, since we haven't quite gotten our act together up until this point, but it's essentially women being aware of growth and possibilities when it comes to technology and its application in developing manpower in particular. I personally have developed some serious interest with regards to how women contribute to agriculture. Most women, I dare say, are smallholder farmers, and I have found need to regard their contributions as one where economically there can be a lot harnessed from it. So that has informed my venture into tech. I wouldn't have seen myself as a techpreneur per se, but circumstances have prevailed and technology can be merged with that huge body of power to really move things ahead, especially when it comes to agriculture. Most smallholder farmers are women. Most of them hold down the home, I dare to say, and there's a lot that can be done. More importantly, I realized that we do not engage with our farmers who feed most of the continent, but we do not engage with them in terms of regarding them as business people. We engage with them like people who would be empowerment is quite good, but these are business people who offer products, and if there's a demand, there's a supply, and it usually comes from them. So, I mean, I am passionate about dealing with these people and organizing them as businesses. And that has informed my creating a platform called Barnseed. And on Barnseed, we intend to onboard groups like associations and cooperatives. If they can't register limited liability businesses, for instance, they can organize themselves as groups, associations, and engage with their customers directly. So technology is helping us do that. We're encouraging the use of precision farming, using smart technology to make farming easier for women like that. So basically just harnessing the opportunities that technology is bringing and housing it in one place and saying, all right, this is a playing ground for you. These are the new changes, and we believe you can do better this way. So that's essentially it. And I'm pretty sure there'll be other women with other perspectives that will be quite exciting to hear about. Yeah.
Really looking forward to that conversation. Women in technology, and you're right. There's the technology that exists out there. It's for everybody, and sometimes we make the comment that technology is not for me, but then you're basically living it on a day-to-day basis. And I think that it's in this case agriculture you talked about. We still entrenched for the large part, especially in the rural areas, with using mundane methods of agriculture or cultivating. And again, just streamlining our processes from farm to market using technology could be a big leapfrog into financial inclusion, but also financial empowerment, even for the local people. So this is a conversation that's worthy of having and also listening to. So I'm encouraging viewers and listeners to tune in to the Emerging African Forum, the virtual event, which is going to feature a session on women in technology. And you hear conversations like the snippet that we've gotten from Aisha. With that said, I thank you for stopping by and giving us that information. Appreciate that. Have a wonderful day.
Pleasure.
And now I'm going to just segue to Mr. Eric Kagame, CEO, President of the Chamber, also the Chair of the Logistics on the organizing team at the EAF. He's going to just give us some closing remarks as well, maybe just remind us of some things that are very important to take note as the event is around the corner.
Thank you, Vitalis, and well spoken, Aisha. You've done incredibly well as we, some of the people we've been reaching out to on ground and contributing, like quietly your own way. And I also want to thank, Dr. Chinedu for your support, and Professor Kelly as well, and Christian for, we're glad to have you today here. And we're looking forward to receiving you in Minneapolis and have you be part of both the private event, the book lunch, and Professor Kelly's, book lunch, and also other things that we're going to go unveil on the 20th. And then the 22nd is all about public-private partnership. How can we work? I'm glad, we have someone like Professor Kelly and also the Minister of Women Affairs and others that we're working to get to Minneapolis to join us, in a hybrid fashion to see how we can work together to accelerate, those investments, and also especially what the likes of, Dr. Chinedu are doing. How can we need people to support what they're doing through incentivization, and that could be from the government side. Just having those individuals in one room, and also how can we leverage, government agencies like the USAID through the Prosper Africa to get to really get to implement some of the things that we've been talking about here. So we're going to see how the players within that private space and also the public space, talking about how sitting down and having conversation on tangible solutions that can accelerate both their investment, how to attract more of their investment, and also what incentivization they're offering as well, and ours as a chamber, ours is continue to facilitate, to position, to really get people like-minded, people both in the public space and the private space to continue to have that conversation, and also be that confluence of ideas, be that confluence of greatness, and continue to do our bit. And I'm looking forward to the entire event itself. Looking forward to just Robin, exploring endless, possibilities with the men and women that are going to be part of the EAF and slash the TC, SW21. And as a statement, we're glad we're going to have two, as it is right now, in addition to the women panel, women conversation panel, which is Women in Tech, panel. We're going to have, at least we have two keynote speakers that are incredible women that are going to be our keynote speakers. So we're pretty excited about that. So some of us men, it's time for us to just find one corner and kind of just get our book, Professor Kelly's book, and let the ladies, kind of run things, But I appreciate all your contributions, and we're looking forward to all the amazing things, that we're anticipating. And thank you, Vitalis, for your amazing, incredible work, and also Vita and also Jiraji as well. And Noja, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric, President CEO of the Chamber. You've been leading incredibly well yourself. I must say that. Hats off to you. But you really kind of pulling things up, and we look up to you, and you provided the leadership that is needed for this. And I just want to appreciate you. Thank you very much. The Chamber is very grateful to you for that as well. With that said, please attend this event. If you're an investor, you can come and discover lucrative investment opportunities in startups that are owned and run by Africans. We're going to be showcasing some of those, like I mentioned earlier. And if you're a business owner or company looking to gain market share in Africa, or to tap into opportunities that that you've identified on the continent, but you might probably having some challenges how to explore them, this is the place for you. We offer you that avenue, that environment, that ecosystem, where you can come in and vouch on information and find connections and partners to help you realize that dream. And if you're a government entity in the United States looking to expand the reach in Africa and also in the diaspora nations, here we are. We're here presenting ourselves ready and available for you to come and work with us. So please, the EAF 21 is coming up here in about 4 days. So please mark your calendars, especially circle those dates, September 20th and the 22nd. September 20th, we're going to have a virtual event. And before that, we're going to be having the special event that will feature the book launch. And it's going to also have the unveiling of the Diaspora Digital Bank concept, and also the well-crafted fractional PPP infrastructure finance platform within the blockchain technology. So those are some exciting initiatives that are going to be coming out, and we're going to have some good time having some continental breakfast, being the company of experts and investors in different array of people that you can network and extend or expand your network of people that will help you in your personal also business life as well. So please do well to be part of this. And then the virtual event will come in later on that 20th. And then we'll have an in-person event on the 22nd. And we will do our best using technology to see how we can stream that live. So those of you that are not here in person to be able to be part of that and interact with it to some extent. So those are the things we're putting together, and we're very excited about it. Like Mr. Eric has talked about, I'm really itchy for that day. So it's great. And to our panelists here, guests, please thank you all for being here today, attending the second episode of the Imagine African Forum podcast. My name is Vitalis Chita. I serve in the capacity of the VP Communication here at the Chamber, and also I am the chair of the organizing team of the Imagine African Forum event. It's been a pleasure rubbing shoulders with brilliant people like you, and it's always an honor and a pleasure to be exposed to the knowledge that is coming from you guys. So I'm extremely thankful for that. So with that said, let me take the pleasure to wish you all a good, wonderful Sunday, whatever you left of it, and the week coming ahead of you. Please enjoy it and have a blessed one. Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.